If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it. With My Funny House, here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Well, happy Saturday morning here in San Diego, America's finest city. You're here with the Powell brothers in My Funny House. I'd like to introduce my partner and my co-host over here, Frank Powell.
Hello, good morning, San Diego. And that was my brother, Mark Powell speaking. I'm Frank Powell. Welcome to the show. We also have a co-host, Maria Herman, the producer of Comedy Heights, who is really in the background doing all the work. Thank you. Introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I'm there doing the heavy lifting, holding up Frank and Mark.
That's right. We have two co-hosts, so that's Coco. Coco host.
Oh, I love that.
Everybody likes
does that mean she's going to introduce James right now, who's sitting right by us, who we're staring at? And
that's a third one.
We have to act like he's not here.
Yes. Yeah. There's somebody sitting. Well,
James is actually the hot cocoa in the cocoa.
Are you just the marshmallows at the top?
He's you may have seen him on the Dr. Squatch commercials, like 500 million views or something crazy.
Yeah.
Super Bowl commercial. I mean, you've blown up. You're huge. Everybody, welcome James Schrader. What?
Hey, James Schrader's in the house. Woo!
Again, thank you guys for having me back. This is so fun.
They said if you bring a comedian, we want you to make it clean. So we brought James in.
The cleanest.
He's
very clean.
What are we talking about today, Mark?
Okay, we are going to talk about home inspections. Now, home inspections are one of the most important aspects when you buy a house because it can make or break the deal. Typically, the home inspection is a contingency on the sale of the house, which means I will buy your house if it passes this inspection. And there are many components to a home inspection. And Frank is going to introduce us to a few of those right now.
There's usually a couple conditions before you buy a house. One of them is to make sure you get the loan. That's like check. And then the other one, the other big one is the home inspection check. So what happens is that you make an offer on the house, they accept it, it goes into escrow, and then during the escrow, you got a time frame of doing the due diligence of the house. The one that Mark's talking about being the most important is a home inspection. So that's when you call up a home inspector, and typically we suggest that you get somebody who's been in the business for 5 years without any lawsuits. So 5 years full time, no lawsuits. So you have to investigate who the home inspector is because any person can say they're a home inspector.
Right. If his name is Clouseau, you have to
Inspector Clouseau. So you have to make sure that you do your own due diligence on who you're going to hire to inspect the house. Because you can get a guy.
I have the home inspector for you.
Who's that?
My mother-in-law. Listen. Every time, it's what it feels like when she comes over. It's a total home inspection. It's.
Oh my gosh, that threw me off because it's so true. Typically, when you invite anyone over, the mother-in-law is the one that go, "Oh my gosh, she's coming." Then you have the 4-day of cleaning and dusting, and they'll still find.
Oh yeah,
something.
yeah.
Exactly.
I thought you would have cleaned. I mean, if you had company.
Right, did clean.
Yeah. Anyway, so
you knew I was coming.
That's a good
All right.
So now if somebody needs one, can they call the Powell brothers to be recommended a home inspector?
Well, what we do is because whenever you recommend anyone in the process of purchasing a home, if the home inspector is no good, they come back to the Powell brothers and say, "You did it. It's because of you." So what we do is we just tell them that. Google, go on Yelp, find 3 home inspectors, call them up, do your own due diligence, and you pick one. And sometimes we say, we have been using this person who so far has been good, but it's up to you. So we have to give them, to cover us, we can't broker the deal. So to cover our end as brokers, we usually say, we suggest that you go to the website and do.
Well, we recommend home inspectors. We have a list of inspectors that we use that we recommend, but we let the person purchasing the house, the buyer, make that determination.
Now, remember, if you're the listing agent, you're representing the listing agent, the buyer usually doesn't want to have someone that you requested. They want to get their own home inspector. So that's on the other realtor's side. But yeah,
so as the buyer, like if the listing agent's like, we have a guy, he's great.
Yeah, no, we don't want
I
your
want
guy.
my own guy.
Sometimes if a person is selling a house, they may not know what's wrong with their house, so they hire a home inspector to do the inspection, and then they know what to repair. Because the guy's going to say you have an outlet that's not working.
Now that's something that no one usually does, but it's really smart. It's called a pre-inspection. So if you're going to get your house on the market, and Mark and I talked about this in previous shows, the hardscape, the softscape, the painting and getting it prepped. A really good thing to do, we suggest, is to call a home inspector to do a pre-inspection, and that's usually cheaper than the actual home inspection.
And what's that usually run? What is that talking?
It's like $450.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
There you go. So I mean, if you have a 5,000 square foot house or 10,000 square foot house, obviously it's going to double, triple, depending. If you have an 8,000 square foot house and they have to do even just to check the roof, it's going to take longer. So, but typically,
this sounds like I have to invite my sister-in-law over before my mother-in-law comes.
Right.
Oh God, it's even worse.
Sister-in-law, then the mother-in-law, then you sell your house. But it's true, because the people that have been to your house more often will find something that they don't want to tell you about. Hey, I saw this stain on your ceiling, but I don't want to say anything. So it's true. You can have your friends go, hey, don't forget to mention that wall in the front that has a big crack down it. Every time I walk to your front door, I see your retaining wall's kind of split. So you don't know where you're getting it from, but the official home inspector is what you need. It's an official report. Right. Now, when you do a pre-inspection, you have to realize and understand that they may ask for that. They're going to say, have there been any reports done previously to my report? And you go, yes, here's our pre-inspection. We already knew about this. And that's why this is a good one. That's why we priced our house accordingly, because typically it's used as a negotiation tool to reduce the price of the house. Right, Mark? Explain that further.
Right. But then they include it in the disclosure, don't they? So everybody knows, we know, you know, the guy on the street, James knows,
mother-in-law knows,
everybody knows,
sister-in-law.
Everybody knows.
So when you have an inspection and certain things are called out on the inspection, let's just say you have a window that's maybe not sealed properly, you have some issues with the roof, you can ask for repairs. It's called a request for repairs. So a buyer might say, here's my inspection report, here's all the things we found wrong, and based upon this, we want you to fix all of these things, or give us $10,000 and we'll take care of it. A credit.
Yeah, through escrow. So give an example. You're buying a condo for $400,000. You go in there and the kitchen has leaks. The plumbing has problems. You know it's going to be an HOA nightmare, whatever. And they go, hey, our plumber came in here and said, this is $5,000 worth of stuff just in the kitchen. We found this, we found that, we found that. Okay, we don't want to open up that can of worms as the sellers, but we'll give you a credit. Since your plumber said this is how much it's going to be, we'll either reduce the price of the house or we can give you credit. Because you can't give credit if you have a cash buyer. So if you have a cash buyer, the only thing you could do is actually reduce the price of the home. Or you could say, I'm not doing anything. Take it or leave it.
Yep.
That's going to happen today, right? A lot.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Today they're going to say, take it or leave it, because it's such a seller's market. Somebody go, I don't care what's wrong with the roof. I'll just handle the plumbing. I just need the house because I've missed out on the 10 houses that I went. I got outbid. We'll take it.
Frank, I just want to talk about this one thing, because all these weird things happen with home inspections, and this happened with a home inspection. We had flaming ants.
Define this. Flaming
Frank,
ants.
Like actual ants on
that are on fire?
Yes.
Wait.
Not fire ants.
Wait, was it an hors d'oeuvre?
No, those are termites. Yeah, flaming termites.
Oh.
Frank,
okay, so I get to this house and there's a burn on the carpet underneath a circuit. So you know where you plug in your
socket.
Appliances, a socket. So right under it, there was like burn marks, and I'm like, why is the carpet burnt?
Like somebody dropped cigarette.
Yeah, just a little burn.
like a clove cigarette.
The ember just fell and burned. Yeah.
Like those things.
So the home inspector is telling me that you can have ants go inside of these circuits. You know, where
and
the
they
plug
short
goes.
it out like
They
like
short
an
it
ants
out.
in a line.
Yes,
touch
yes,
everything
right.
because they're so close, and just
Yes, correct. And it spits out flaming ants that cause a fire. So imagine if your house burns down.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
tell
no.
your insurance company that flaming ants caused the fire.
Yeah,
in your
the
house.
ants.
Okay.
These ants that were on fire were shot out of the out of the socket.
Right. And I was
Okay, so-
laughing, but the guy
That's-
convinced me that that's what really happened.
Yeah.
And I found out during an investigation that it's true.
Yes.
Flaming
is
ants.
it-
So wait, they weren't flaming ants to start with.
No.
They were just
No,
reg-
no, yeah.
they
they
were
were just regular ants.
Well,
just regular ants.
We don't know if they're flaming before. They could have been flaming and flaming. Double flame. But regular ants and they become flaming ants. Yeah.
They're not fire ants.
No.
Now,
they're-
when you go to your insurance company,
Well-
you're like, "Listen, flaming ants, it's a thing," and they're
Yes.
like, "No, it's not." Like, "No, we're not."
My house burned down because
Yeah,
of flaming
flaming
ants.
How do you prove that?
I don't know.
How do you disprove it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think. Listen, I'm pretty sure the insurance company is
Can
pretty good at
disprove it.
disproving everything.
Exactly. But that's what we were told, that these ants were can catch on fire. But here's something. Speaking of ants and things like that, part of an inspection report also includes a termite inspection, and that is part of the overall roof, termites, foundation, and what a home inspector will do is they'll come out, and if they notice something, like let's say they notice a toilet is not flushing completely,
Or rotten wood outside.
they will say, "Hey, we noticed this. We recommend that you call a qualified professional, like a licensed plumber, an electrician,
Right.
a roofing contractor, to further investigate."
Yes.
Gotcha. What are the three biggest things that pop up usually with an older home with a home inspection?
Electrical panel.
Yeah.
Because it's just out of date.
Yes.
Just needs
Just
updating.
out of date.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
they found arcing wires and the wrong metals touching the wrong metals.
The roof
The roof.
or roof.
And in
roof or roof?
San Diego, a lot, especially in certain areas, is the foundation cracks. Now, do you always have to bail a house because it has a foundation crack? And the answer is maybe. But typically, you can fix a foundation crack and the house will be fine, because what happens is that some of the houses that were laid back in the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, some of them didn't have the proper amount of steel. So when they settled, you got a crack. But the crack is just a parallel crack, which means the floor is still even, but it just separated. So those are the kind of foundations that could be fixed for even a couple grand. So we've come across those as well. And obviously, if your house is elevated 18 inches above and you have a crawl space, some of those floors can be off a little bit. Like if you put, what I have is I literally have a 3-pound steel ball, imagine that, and I put it in the middle of the wooden floors to see if that ball travels any direction.
It's
If
like
it
a ball
does,
bearing.
It's like a ball bearing. So if
and I'm
it
guessing
does,
in older homes, it almost always does.
always.
Well, it doesn't work well on carpet,
Yes.
but if it's a wood floor, it works
Right,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, don't bring the steel
Don't bring
ball
the
to a
ball on
carpet.
the carpet. But it actually will tell you if a floor
It's
is
listing or
tilted.
not.
Now, and there's all sorts
Well,
of different
listen.
ways to fix a foundation issue.
I was just going to say, don't tell anybody anything more about rolling balls, because if my mother-in-law shows up with one of those and brings her bowling ball, and
Can you
that'd
imagine?
just be another thing to test.
Right.
I have actually been through 3 different home inspections in 2020.
Wow.
One was for a house. 2 inspections were on a house that I was considering purchasing, and another was on my son's house that he bought. And I really recommend being on site when the inspection is happening,
Very good
because
point.
in each case,
Different reports.
they missed something,
Right.
and I was all over it. I mean,
Should have brought your
goodness knows
mother-in-law.
what
Yeah.
Brought your mother and
Yeah.
sister-in-law with you.
Yeah. Always bring your
She-
mother-in-law to
To
the
the
home
inspection,
inspection.
right.
And home inspectors love that.
She was there. She was there.
So one of the
Um,
big things,
but-
Yeah.
That's a good point. I want to reiterate what she said, because even in a brand new constructed house, an inspector will go and find something, either with a code violation or something. So if you have 3 different inspections, you can have 3 different reports. But what James said earlier is you're really doing this inspection to hit the major things, the major problems, because everyone's going to have to go to Home Depot or the big box stores and do little, fixes. That's what houses do. They fall apart all the time. But the inspector is really to make sure the roof doesn't leak, the foundation's okay, the plumbing's okay. So it's really for the major things. All the other stuff, you really shouldn't give them credit on or even negotiate it, because that's why you're selling your house at that price. So as a realtor, no, you're selling your house at that price, considering that it's not a brand new house and that things are going to be found out to be wrong.
What about the pool? I got to ask about
that's
the
a
pool.
good one. Yeah.
Well, the pool it could be either a really bonus or it could be a nightmare. So what you want to do is when you look at a pool, look at the water line. Is the water line perfectly lined with the tiles? Because usually they have a row of tiles on the outside. Is the water down? Is the concrete?
Well, sometimes
outside?
the pools leak.
Well, that's what I mean. It could leak, right?
If you're at a pool and the trees all around the pool are looking
really good.
really
Here in
good.
San Diego, they look really
Right.
you
those palm trees that look like they're on steroids that are very fat, and then 10 feet away you got the skinny palm trees. That could be a source of water for. And a lot of people say that the chlorine cannot be fed to palm trees, and I know 100% that's bogus. Palm trees will drink pool water. They don't care how many chemicals are in there. I found one system that had a 3-inch pipe, and it looked like a bunch of cables coming through it. And it was a palm tree that found the hole, went into the pipes, into the system, was drinking right from the pool. And that palm tree was the healthiest palm tree I've ever seen. And that's when I realized, oh, they do drink pool water and they don't die.
Wow,
I've drank pool water. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't prefer it.
No. You know when you're swimming in the pool and you're really thirsty?
Yeah. Don't drink the pool water.
Don't
drink the pool water.
No, just get a bottled water.
But that's what you look. So the pool's a big thing. You have to, and there are pool inspectors to make sure the plaster's okay, it's sealed properly. It's not how much water is it losing, because a lot of people fill up their pool right before the open house and they don't tell you that, hey, in 3 days it's going to go down 4 inches. So that's why they have the inspector check the pump, check the surrounding area, see if there's cracks, look at the water level. And so pools is a major one. You can have a pool contractor come after the inspector to check your pools.
And what about the heating system? Because I would suspect that if you bought a house, you would want to 100% make sure that the heater is not giving off carbon monoxide. Because if a heater's bad, it could give off carbon monoxide. So,
well, first, I mean, as we learned, I think in the first episode I was on, that carbon monoxide detectors are mandatory.
Correct.
Right.
So that's going to be a good telltale sign. But like, should you literally like walk around the house with one?
No, I can tell you exactly what to do. You call San Diego Gas and Electric. Now they were not doing the heater inspections because of COVID recently. I mean, you can call San Diego Gas and Electric if you're hearing this in another. If you're in another city, don't call San Diego Gas and Electric.
Right.
Call your gas and electric,
Correct.
your city,
Call
county.
That's because you could do.
Although I'm sure that have a chat with people in San Diego is a nice thing to do if you're not living in San Diego, right? I mean, even at the electric and gas company, they're like, hey, you called San Diego, everything is bliss here.
Exactly, America's finest city.
Someone else to talk to.
So you call San Diego Gas and Electric Company, and they will do a heater inspection. And if they determine that the heater is giving off carbon monoxide or is not functioning properly, it's called red tag it. They actually put this tag on there and go, you can no longer operate this heater, and they shut the gas off to the heater, not to the house.
Wow.
But you can also call any heating and plumbing company, but they will charge you typically. They may not. So make sure, like San Diego Gas Electric, if you really think there may be a carbon monoxide leak, they'll high prioritize and get out there. However, if you just want to inspect it, like Mark says, you could call any heating and air company, and they'll come out and inspect it.
All right. It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Because you don't want to sniff carbon monoxide if you don't have the detector, because you can die. So it's
and you can't smell it.
No, you can't smell it.
Undetectable. No. Now, gas, you can smell gas. And the gas, the only reason why you can smell it is because they actually put a skunk oil in there. It's called skunk oil. But if you don't have the skunk oil in there, gas is also something that has an innate smell. You cannot smell
that smell in gas is actually put into the gas.
Correct. Just so you can
for
smell
safety.
it. For safety, for a leak. But they don't, carbon monoxide
That'd be a
don't
good
have
cologne,
that.
wouldn't it?
Hey, propane.
Yeah.
And you want to smell like the barbecue year round? Wear propane. Is that LP? Did he have LP on? He did.
Smell like a barbecue.
So attracted.
A backyardsman.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm definitely propane.
Hey now.
Wow.
Okay, Frank, I want to also ask you about this. This is a very important inspection. The windows. Do they inspect windows too? And why is that important?
Well, it's important because, the windows help keep in heat and it helps keep out cold. So it's an insulating part. It's a part of your wall that should be insulated. So there's 2 reasons to check it. Everyone listening right now, if you want to know if your house is off balance or if you have it listed or it fell, if your go to your window and it gets stuck when you're putting it up, typically that means something happened to your house, because if you take a square, which is a window or rectangle, and you alter it at any dimension, a couple millimeters.
Just a fraction of a degree.
Right.
Yeah.
It won't open smooth. And that can tell you there may be something wrong with the foundation. So that's why they inspect it, because it can lead to other bigger, more important things.
Even with, you hope that the person who put the window in didn't put it in crooked. You're assuming he put it in straight and it was squared when he put it in.
Right.
So and also a door too.
Yeah, the door. Another one is, if you go to your door, any door in your house, and if you shut it just so you can see the light on the other side of the door, look at the top and look at the bottom. If those two dimensions are wrong, that means your door has also tweaked, which could mean your foundation is listing.
Or the door was hung wrong.
Or the door was hung wrong. Or the screws and the hinges should be tightened.
But foundations will settle.
What are you going to say, Maria?
Go ahead, tell us. Say it. We know here she comes.
I hate when it's hung wrong.
I knew it. I knew she had something there.
That's true.
All right. So far, I've heard a lot of pros to why to get a home inspection, but I see on the show notes here we had cons. Cons of a home inspection. What are the cons?
Well, the con is this: a person buys your house and they go, "I'll pay full price. I'll pay $20,000 over," with the intent to hire a home inspector to come in there and demolish your house, to make it so bad that now they know that you have to keep that report for other people, that you'd rather just give them a reduction and go back down to a price that they want, as opposed to actually having someone that has a
here's what Frank is saying. They'll use the report against the seller, even if there's really nothing wrong.
Because the seller can't walk away from that report ever again.
Right.
That's right.
Correct.
Wow.
So they use it. So you want to make sure that who is your inspector, who's coming in to inspect on your side. And a lot of people, let's face it, this is what I've seen. A lot of people will go, "Hey, I've been like an engineer, like I can inspect anything. I'm an engineer." And it has nothing against engineers, but you got to ask yourself, you were once an engineer and now you went down to a home inspector. Why is that? So, you got to really do your investigation. Like, who is this person?
I mean, it's tired of being an engineer.
That's absolutely. A lot of people want to retire.
It's likely there's a good reason.
Yeah.
And it's likely there's a bad reason.
Maybe he's making more money. A home inspector, it's a pretty decent career. Some home inspections, and it's true, will be between $3,000 and $5,000 in those bigger houses.
Right. They got it. Now they're getting the drone. Right. They're launching a drone for the which costs more for the roof. And so if you have
the chimney. And the chimney.
Yes, the chimney, exactly.
Yep. And the magnifying glasses to look for the fire ants.
Yes, you got to get that too.
The infrared. Yeah, you got to get your infrared on.
They use that. They will use infrared.
Wow. I have a question. What about radon?
Radon gas. Okay, the reason why radon gas is not going to affect San Diego, because radon actually comes from the compression of granite. So if you live in like South Dakota, North Dakota, you want to know what the radon gas is. So now they're associating it with slabs of granite. Do the slabs of granite have radon gas? But they don't. So you don't have to worry about the radon gas. It's from the actual environment. If you're sitting on a granite surface or there's granite around you.
Like foundation, in the ground below your house.
Yeah, we don't have radon in San Diego.
So granite countertops,
not
an issue.
No.
So you don't have to worry about that.
You can do it. You can.
But that was a good one.
You don't have to worry about radon. No, you don't have to worry about radon. Just earthquakes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, we worry about earthquakes. Other people worry
insurance. One of our shows is going to be on insurance, and we're going to talk a little bit about
what to get and what not to
but
get
before
on earthquake insurance.
Since we're talking about earth-shaking events and earth-shaking people, let's talk about James, because he has some earth-shaking
news for us.
What is it?
News?
Tell us.
I don't have news.
How do we get a hold of you and tell us about?
What a setup for what a letdown! What's your earth-shaking news? I have a website.
Hey, he has a website.
I do. If you want to find out any shows or upcoming merchandise I have launching, like the T-shirt I'm wearing, go to jamesschrader.com or Google James Schrader. However you spell it, it will come up.
James, let me ask you one thing.
Yes.
How do I want these people that are listening to us to watch your commercial on YouTube.
Go to YouTube and look up Dr. Squatch All Natural Soap.
You got to watch his commercial. It is hilarious. James is funny, and he takes soap.
And get the soap.
Yeah, get the soap.
It's good stuff.
I bought the soap.
I bought the soap too.
It's very slippery.
Last week
what about
I said,
Maria?
Yeah.
Maria, how do we get in touch with you?
I'll be buying flaming ants for salad with my mother-in-law. And Comedy Heights.
Comedy Heights. And the Powell Brothers, reach us at powellbrothersrealty.com or give us a call at 858-922-7725.
Thank you. We'll see you next week here at My Funny House with the Powell Brothers.
Thanks
good
so
Saturday.
much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at powellbrothersrealty.com, or you can visit myfunnyhouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.